Hi everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to our Perfumer Q&A. And today we are really delighted to have Sarah McCartney of 4160 Tuesdays. She will explain to you why her brand has such a quirky name in a moment. But we've known Sarah for quite some time at the Perfume Society, and she is a bit of a maverick in the fragrance world, and we thoroughly applaud the way that she has shown that you don't necessarily have to go to Izipka, unlike last week's interviewee, to have a really good brand. I'm just waiting for Sarah to come online. I've seen that various other people have joined, including I think her husband. But Sarah, if you're watching this and you've tried to join, can you have another go? Because it's not working right now. Oh, the joys of online communication. Anyway, everybody, we've had a fantastic response to these Perfumer Q&As, and we are really thrilled with the way that they've gone down, and we have some other brilliant names. Here she comes. Brilliant. Thank you. We're waiting for Sarah, but she's coming up any second. Anyway, we're going to keep them up for as long as we can, with as many perfumers as we can. So I don't understand why my screen hasn't split and why she isn't here. So something is going wrong with the technology this morning. Sarah, have another go. I let you in, but you're not there. I've accepted the request to join. Okay, I don't understand why you're not coming up. Go live. Okay, I think this is happening now. Hooray!
Hello.
Technology works, but we don't love it when it doesn't. Anyway, hello, where are you?
Hello.
In your workhouse, your studio.
Yeah, I'm in the studio. So I can be here.
Yes.
Because it's just Nick and me. So we come in a couple of times a week. So this place to do it. So here I am.
And how are you coping with lockdown?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've had to stop sending fragrances out at the moment. Is that right?
What's happened is we haven't stopped completely, but we've had to close the shop because we've had to stop orders coming in from random everywhere. We can't go to the post office. So what we're doing is if people email us and say we're out of stock of this, we explain that we're not out of stock. We've just had to set everything to zero to stop people buying like one random sample that we can't get out to them for less than 20 quid's worth of posting.
Yeah.
And so we've moved everything secretly onto newsletters and 4,100 Tuesdays. I know the name. 4,160 Tuesdays news on secret Facebook group. So that we are actually doing business, but the shop has to be shut because we can't get our normal packers and bottlers in. It's all Nick and me.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be able to reopen soon with social distancing?
No. The building's very narrow. Okay. All our people need to come here on public transport, and it's just not safe. So no. It's too small. And definitely no workshops here for a long time. We might be able to get staff in. If we can all prove we've had it, yeah, and no one's worried, then
that's totally great. Of time, nonetheless, being able to stand back and look at your business from afar.
No, I heard almost nothing of that because all I saw was a circle, and you paused. So sorry. Would you
I saw you looking baffled. I was going to say, are you finding it a creative time nonetheless? being able to have that rare opportunity to stand differently and
yeah. I've made myself not worry too much and be creative. If I'm worried about money, I can't do anything. I freeze. But we just have enough in the bank at the moment, fortunately, because we did a big project and it emptied itself into the bank account, so we can breathe, and I can not take up all that money bandwidth that takes a lot of time, because I've already got the whole, the bandwidth just taken up by thinking, yeah, life, that takes a bit of it. But there's enough left at the moment for me to sit. If I read a nice book, quieten everything down, then go into the lab, and I took hundreds of materials home with me, so that I say lab, it's the floor of my yoga studio where I normally teach yoga. So I can't do that except online, teaching yoga online 3 times a week, keep me sane. And so I'm sitting on the floor and dabbling away, making up a lot of ideas that our customers had. And yeah, I've got some projects coming in from outside as well. So yeah, it is lovely. We have an in the studio day where we bottle and pack stuff and get them out the door, and thank goodness we do everything by hand and don't have a machine that we can't run. And then the next day will be a sitting at home quietly day, pottering with materials and putting things together. So yeah, it means that I can sandwich in without having to do like management. I can just do perfume.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I mean, it's not like you've always had a massive team, so you know there is a lot that you and Nick can do together, presumably. I want to know what nice books you've been reading, actually.
Oh well, at the moment I'm on, it's this thick, and it's called The Orange Tree. Sorry, The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is by Samantha Shannon. And actually it's a bit of a story, because this book, Shadow Scent, that's by PM Freestone, and that's about sort of medieval perfumers who rule the world with magic potions. And she asked me if I would make a perfume to describe the darkest bloom. And so we've actually worked out the darkest bloom, which goes with the book. We were going to have a book launch in Edinburgh, but you know. And Peter Freestone brought with her Samantha Shannon to the studio. This is last year. And Samantha Shannon wrote The Priory of the Orange Tree. And it's so massive, it's something you really need time to get stuck into. And that's set in medieval times in mystery worlds, and there are dragons and total escapism. But it turns out I'd already made an orange tree fragrance, and Samantha Shannon smelt it and she just went, oh my God. So yeah, I'm escaping off into fantasy world, and Peter's new book, that this is a duology, part 2, you know, I'm not on commission, it's just really good. Part 2 is out, so that's next. That and 1930s crime novels are just not reality. And then, yeah, Margaret Heffernan's book, it's called Mapping the Future, and it came out beginning of the year. And it's all about how in uncertain times we can look forward, and how you can really use to plan. And, you know, there's a whole chapter on the impending pandemic that everybody knew was coming, but no, everybody ignored. so she looks like, yeah.
Well, I think maybe some people knew it was coming, but I think a lot of us didn't really see that particular train coming at us.
Oh, I'm afraid I rather was planning for it. I didn't know how it was going to be, but I kind of believe, oh, I'm a nerd, you know, it was inevitable. If you are nerdy and read these things, then, but necessarily in our lifetimes. So right. You know, I'll stop talking about that now, but next, perfume.
Lots and lots of the questions. Back to perfume. Wonderful perfume, which is an escape in itself for many of us. a lot of the questions, perhaps unsurprisingly, that we've had for you are about how you became a perfumer and how they can become a perfumer, and slightly nerdy questions in themselves. So for those people who perhaps don't know the story, would you just give a little upsum of how it was that you went from being, I believe, a copywriter for Lush to starting this Maverick fragrance brand, which has found global success?
Yes. Okay. In a nutshell, for 14 years, I wrote the Lush Times for Lush. And there came a point where I thought, well, I've never had a year off. I've never had any time off from the age of 4, you know, just study, 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 work, 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 study, work. I thought, well, now is it, you know, approaching 50. I thought, right, I'm buying myself a year off with my pension fund. So I did it. I blew it. And I thought, well, I'm a writer. I'll write a novel. You know, we all think we can write a novel. So I did. But it was about a perfumer who made fragrances to remind people of happy times. And then nobody said, oh, how marvelous, let me publish your novel. But people said, oh, I'd like one that reminds me of this, 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 and this. And I actually went shopping for the fragrance. They just didn't exist. 11 years now. There wasn't such a niche world. There's been an explosion now. I could probably find them, but they didn't exist. So I thought, I know, I'll make them. Because Lush made all their own fragrances. I mean, I didn't know how. I was never allowed in the... If they let me in, I might have stayed, but I like making things, and I didn't. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. How hard can it be? Ha ha. And so I was kind of flattered into it. If people thought I was good and told me, oh, I really want to buy that. Just, people will tell you you're good and it's lovely, and they say, oh, I'll buy it if you make it, but you make it and then they don't. There's that. But if you make it and then they do, you think, oh. And so Odette Toilette, Lizzie Osborne, discovered me at I was a friend of a friend. We met at dinner. So she invited me to run an event at which we had a secret shop at the back. It's called, oh, what was it? You should know what it's called. Speakeasy Scents.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was, yes, it was about, it was, well, Liz Moores was featured, but she couldn't actually be there because she just had Daisy. And there's another chap who was recreating historical fragrances, and there's me. Unfortunately, some of the things that others of the perfumers had said, which were very anti-regulations at the time, all then got assigned to me. So I've discovered since that some of the things which are the Maverick things which were ascribed to me, actually I never said, but they all went down in the big, like, oh, it was that event where everybody's breaking the rules, and I was there. So, but you were there, and you bought a bottle of Tokyo Spring Blossom and reviewed it, and at one point in it, it said, give up the J job and go and be a perfumer. And I thought, yay, I'll go and do that. So it's actually all your
It's all my fault.
Oh, I was ready to be talked into it, let's face it. It really did help there in encouraging me along the way. So yeah, so then I had to work out how I could settle them.
I didn't know that was back in the day when I was the scent critic before the Perfume Society. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were my first visitor. When I got the building, you were actually the first person to sit on the green chair and say, I've got this exciting news happening. Are you with us? They're like, yes. So, yeah.
Well, it's perfumers like you that I think have done so much to make this world so exciting and get people, you know, really passionate about perfume and realize that it's, you know, it is something you put on every day, but there are stories and there are magical ingredients, and there is alchemy, and there are people behind it, and all of these things, you know, a bit like food was when back in the day when I founded Green and Blacks, people became foodies around that time. And I'm not sure that we've got the name for what they are now, perfume lovers, I suppose, but it's all part of that. So what were the, you know, how did you train? I mean, did you ever go on a course?
Well, the course, what happened was that Nick booked me onto a half day with Karen Gilbert on synthetics, because I had a lot of knowledge about naturals, because you can buy them. Even 10 years ago, you could buy naturals, and the ones which you couldn't buy at Neil's Yard, because there are lots of naturals which don't have therapeutic benefits. They just smell great. So something like cognac essential oil. I mean, I once said to Mark Constantine, I was writing up about a shampoo that smelt of Guinness and it had cognac in it. And I said, and here's normally we use this for that for calming, this for, you know, oily hair, that use cognac. And he just got a bottle like this and he just went, smell it, and say, oh my god, that's why you use cognac. So I actually had and Lush, they let me smell samples of everything so I could write about them. So my knowledge of naturals was fairly high, but because, I mean, of course, all perfume companies have to be secretive about their formulas because other perfume companies copy them. It's, you know, it's not that we're being secretive because we're hiding something from the consumers, you know, we're being secretive because we're hiding them from each other. So Lush are very secretive about their formulas. I didn't actually know ever what was in the bits that they just called parfum secret. And that was to make it difficult to copy. So I knew nothing about synthetics. So I went on this little course with Karen, and then I went on her 1 week. I did Perfumer's World, and all of this really was for me to get access to other things that I couldn't smell. Yeah. These days it's much easier, and so then immediately, as soon as I know something, I want to share it. And so the traditional half of the industry, let's say, which, well, half in terms of people, but 99% in terms of volume, is a bit more, oh, no, we're not telling you anything. It is the secret and mystery of perfume. It'll ruin it if you knew what was in it. You must study for 5 years with a master. How dare you? How very dare you? And it's not, that's wrong. It's just, you know, it's the same in lots of industries. It's the same in cuisine, you know, haute cuisine. What do you mean you didn't go to the Institute for Bocuse? You can't, how dare you boil a pan? And on my side, I was like, I've just discovered this. Do you want to smell this? And so, because I think what's in it is really exciting, as well as the final results. I mean, it's when people give, you know, lots and lots of lists of notes and you know they can't actually smell them. I think that's a bit tedious, but how you make up that thing that smells amazing, but it's made out of that, and who knew? That really fascinates me, and so I like to share that, and so I ended up just opening up the place and telling everyone.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, you know, your workshops are renowned for being great fun and highly instructive, and I would actually also just give Karen Gilbert a pat on the back as well, because I've been on one of her courses and she is a fantastic teacher. And you know, when Sarah's open again, she does offer perfume making workshops. Karen will offer perfume making workshops, and they are great groundings in perfumery. I mean, so then you decide to set up 4,160 Tuesdays. Yeah, we've got a little bit of slowness with you too, but it kind of catches up.
Right. Okay. So actually, I just saw a comment says, think consumers are far more tuned into wanting to know the ingredients now, and that's definitely true after 10 years. But I'm not sure what I missed. There was doubtless a question there, and I've accidentally missed it.
It was for anybody who doesn't know why your business is called 4,160 Tuesdays. Can we just explain the joyous tale behind that?
Okay, yes, it is yoga related. And when I had my year off, I wanted to start a blog about Tuesdays, which were my least favorite day because I could never spell Tuesdays at school. It's spelled stupidly. You know, it should be Tuesdays, not Tuesdays. We say Tuesdays. Plus, Tuesdays just go by and you don't really notice what's happened. So I wanted a yoga teacher of mine. Until the age of 80, she was still teaching. She could do the splits, back bends. Lillian Biggs from Yorkshire, and she died when she was 80. And my maths head just went, that's not very many Tuesdays. It's only 4,160. And 52 times 80, that many weeks. I thought, whoa, you aren't going wasting them. That's short. Life is blinking short. Let's do something interesting on a Tuesday. So I was writing about Tuesdays, every Tuesday, on this blog, which still exists somewhere on Blogspot, I think. I own it. So just suggesting things that people did. So I owned sarahmccartney.com. I owned 4160tuesdays.com. And, you know, I was writing about, I had this project, the 5 Degree Woolly, which was to save the world by wearing thicker clothes, you know, knitting up thick sweaters out of old material, and old people teaching young people how to knit. And I started all that as well. That was there. But eventually I went with, thought, I'll have a perfumery. I own sarahmccartney.com, but what if I wanted to sell it? If I want to retire, what if gives up? I don't want to sell myself. Okay. So I own 4160tuesdays.com. I'll have that. So, you know, for somebody with a master's degree in marketing and corporate strategy, it was totally random. So I'll have that one. I didn't want that one. I'll have that one. So that's what happened.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What were the main challenges that you faced setting up? Were they regulatory? Were they financial? What was it?
Well, I didn't do it financially properly. I bootstrapped every single step of the way. The bank made me take out a loan in order to open a bank account, because it was that time. It was 2011 when we actually went for it. And to get a business bank account, I said, right, you've got to borrow money. We went, all right. But otherwise, we bought one box of bottles and then filled them and handwrote labels, and then bought another box of bottles. I know the word is it takes 100,000 to launch a perfumery, and you've got to get everything done. You need 10,000 of this, that, and the other. That's the common perception. But if you haven't got 100 grand, then you've got 50 pence. You buy one bottle and you fill it. Fortunately, Posh Pack allowed me to buy from them, because they don't let everybody, because they don't want rubbish stuff in their bottles, so they have to smell it first. And they turn out to be just down the road from me. So I bought everything in very small amounts, and I've been actually running businesses like that since I was 7. When I first bought some beads, I bought beads from a shop and turned them into bracelets and sold them to my friends. Yeah. My next one was Dymo print. When I got a Dymo printer for my birthday when I was 10, I think. Wrote people's names on them and then sold them for a penny. Except my mother thought this was absolutely, vulgar point of, disgusting. Her child was making money. So I have this cloud over my head, this like, oh, I didn't make any money, I should have to give it all back. So I'm having to try psychologically to get past that barrier to business that was sort of actually slapped out of me as a small child. So that's the finance thing. Yeah, the finance was very, very slow. So regulations.
One of the questions from somebody called Will is, what are typical startup costs? And the answer is that it's a lot more generally than you splashed out.
It's whatever you've got. Whatever you've got in the bank, you will spend it on a startup. If you've got 100 grand, it will take 120. If you've got 1,000, it will take 1,200. But if you want to come in with a fully formed brand, like say someone like, you know, the lovely Stuart from Galibat, if you want to launch, and you have Bertrand Duchaufour make your fragrances for you, and you have the bottles all designed and the packaging done, and it's all ready, and it goes into a warehouse, and they handle distribution for you, that is going to be in the region of 100 grand.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're me, I actually started with about 5,000, which got eaten up in like no time.
Yeah.
But I was working out of my house then until the accountant just said, please tell me you're not working out of your house. And I said, yes. And he said, do you know how uninsured you are? And I went, so then he said, go find a building. So that was the big steps, like rent. So it got bigger like that. But I'm going to take my how to start up your own perfume business course online. It's called Brick Walls and Flaming Hoops, and this was it's from there's an article in the Independent that he's a musician, he's a journalist and musician from Scritti Politti, whose name I will remember. Rodri Marsden wrote it, came to visit, and it was a little quote said something like, the brick walls and flaming hoops that McCartney has had to clamber over and jump through would put off any normal person. So it's like, well, I'm not normal. So I actually made a board game called Brick Walls and Flaming Hoops, which is probably around somewhere. But, and it started to say, right, you want a perfume brand. And I run a workshop, which we're about to take online. I finally succumbed to Zoom. It sucks the energy out of me like some kind of Doctor Who monster, that thing. But
absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
I think extroverts actually take it out of the screen, but it's Zoom is driven by the brainwaves of introverts and it's sucked in. But you know, I'll do it. You know, Nick comes away from Zoom with his mates. He's like, yeah, and I go. But I will do it.
Lie down afterwards. I find I'm so exhausted. I have to lie down.
Yeah, Shavasana.
So, well, that's great that you're going to be able to do that online. I mean, this is a perfect example of pivoting, as they call it, or swiveling, as Holly Tucker is calling it now.
Right.
You came quite successful quite quickly, I think. I mean, certainly from my perspective, you know, as a journalist, I was writing about you, but people really latched on to this business and this person who was kind of
going. All the I think I'm hearing.
Put on YouTube afterwards, and you can sit and watch all the compliments and just let them wash over you, Sarah. But lots of people got quite interested quite quickly. And were you surprised by that?
Well, I like to sit down comedian just right there because the perfumes are so awesome. Thank you. I mean, they were quite unusual, and I think it was a phase at which commercial perfumery was becoming more and more evaluated. And the thing is that something like me, if I make 1 liter and it didn't sell, then I wouldn't make another one.
Yeah.
If you're going to launch big time and it's costing you 10 million, you've got to make sure that everybody likes it. Nobody dislikes it. It's got to be likable. So the bell curve is sort of like that, and you're in that bit. Where I am on the bell curve is off the edges. People either absolutely love it, or they hate it. But as long as there's enough in the small group who love it, then cool, amazing. And the thing is that if you're in there, you have to minimize creative risk because the financial risk is massive. And if you can just, you know, spend it, actually, you can be lavish with the materials, but the actual sum of money is still very small. I mean, we say successful. Really, life, I don't normally say this out loud, but I am paid £1,000 a month. That's it. I mean, if we think about success is me. I'm having a great time, and I'm getting emails telling me people that they think that I'm making people happy because they've got a perfume that they can wear at the moment, and that feeds me. As long as we've got enough, I pay Nick a bit more than me, but not that much. So we pay the mortgage, we can eat, and I've got a bit left for shoes. So how do you measure success? And it's not money.
Yeah.
So if somebody thinks, oh yeah, well, perfume, yeah, that. So, but I think the reason
that's
we caught
the
on,
thing,
yeah,
when someone has a business, you know, as it grows, you want to put everything you can back into that business. You don't want to suck it out of the business.
Yeah, exactly. Everything goes back into building it. And, you know, if it's a choice between me taking home 1,500 quid or a half a kilo of Rose Absolute, the Rose Absolute gets it, because I need that. I need that to make the perfume. So that's, you know, how measuring. But to get back to your actual point, which was, you know, we became visible quite soon, and it's partly because if somebody asks me a question, I'll answer it.
Yeah.
So if I get a question like, do you have an opinion on this citrus fruit or that, why would you use this versus that? Like, yes, I have, because I've always got an opinion. Type, finished, because I was a writer, and they've got an answer in half an hour. And it's amazing how that makes you more visible in the press.
It's PR. It's PR.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you were your own PR, as it were. Yes. While we're talking about amazing materials, Susie Nightingale from the Perfume Society wants to know, what is the most exciting ingredient you have ever smelled / worked with, and is there a dream ingredient that you lust over but you can't get hold of?
Oh wow, the first, and probably it stays favorite because it was first, was a Popanax, because I knew that Lush used a Popanax, but I'd never smelt it separately. I just knew it was in certain things, but you don't know until you smelt it by itself what is the Popanaxy bit of that material then. So I smelt that and I was just going, oh, what? Yes, no, what? No, ooh. And then come back to it day after day after day, and then I put it in everything. So it stays in everything. And recently I got very excited about Mandora, which is an essential oil, which is it's a tree from Cyprus, which is a cross between mandarin and orange. And Harry Sherwood, who's here, he's a philosopher, perfumer, hangs out here. He's on the payroll, but you know, sometimes we don't. And Harry he's a walking encyclopedia of perfume materials and amazingly creative. And he said, well, if it's half orange and half mandarin, why don't you just blend the two? So it was a sensible question. And then I got it and I let him smell it. And he went, oh. And so there is it. It's kind of, it's not actually the same. Nature has not just taken the two essential oils and mixed them. And it's so that's fired off a whole new. I put Mandora in Blinking Everything. There's Mandora in The Darkest Bloom. There's Mandora in Meet Me on the Corner. So.
Does it work to brighten it like something like Neroli or bergamot would?
Yeah, more like orange and mandarin. It's a sort of short-lasting zesty. It really is it's as orange a citrus fruit as you could possibly get. It's just a little bit different. And I blend it with lemon, and then it's just right. So I know, I love it so much. I got in touch with the distributor, and they said, oh no, we don't. I'd never heard of it. All right. Okay. Well, I smelt it from the producer, and he says, you're the distributor, so go find it for me, will you? And they went, okay. And they came back and they said, oh yeah, you're right. So, you know, sometimes when you say, is there something I can't get hold of? I mean, quite often it's because someone I used to buy it from has been bought now by somebody else, and that, Cherbourg, for example.
Yeah.
Cherbourg used to sell small quantities to small companies. They got bought by Robertet, and Robertet don't have that policy. They sell big quantities, and you know, and I would, but then that means that I have to buy Robertet from Adam at Hermitage. That's fine. He's now moved to Italy, so it's a bit of a faff, or from the US. Whereas previously I could buy it from France. So, you know, some of those things are a bit of a nuisance barrier.
Now, coming up on the feed have been a couple of names of fragrances. So we've got Meet Me on the corner there. I happen to be wearing Tarte Snickerdoodle.
Yes.
Called Tarte. Remember that Vivienne Westwood might get quite pissed off about that. And a fragrance which I wore, which I actually had in a car in Berlin when I was at the launch of their in-car fragrancing system, and you were allowed to take your own fragrance. And I thought it'd be quite fun to drive around Berlin smelling Tarte Snickerdoodle.
I remember it was Mercedes. Yeah, there's
names that a Lancôme or a YSL or a Chanel might give to a fragrance. So how important are the names to you, and how do they come to you?
Oh, I've got lists that I want to do. At the moment, I'm thinking of making Mustn't Grumble. Bring back the phrase. What sums up at the moment? If we like peak British, oh well, you know, my leg dropped off. I can't, you know. There's a moat around my house at the moment. I go, but it's all right. I've got a tin of beef. I've got the kettle still working, so I'm not so simple. So, but you see, I have to be a bit careful because I realise that I'm basically hyper British. The number of times that I'm joking about something that people have then taken seriously, and I mean, I've had it reported back to me what a dreadful person I am for things that I've said that have then been repeated on American forums, and nobody's known that. I've been going, so I mean, it was written up by a Russian in English who had been to Petit Fragrance, and I have to do it in a Russian accent because it's like Sarah McCartney calls her perfumes silly names. She has one named after prostitutes' underwear. It's like, no, it's not prostitutes' underwear, but that's what they look it up. They like, oh, Tarte, is it Nichols underwear? And it's like, no, it's not that. It's a thing. It's like smelling like no. So sometimes I do have to be careful. Also, Meet Me on the Corner is from the Lindisfarne song from 1972, and I wanted to do my homage to 1970s fragrances. But then I had people saying, "Oh, Meet Me on the Corner, eh? Oh, no." It's not about prostitution. It's about the time when we didn't have a mobile phone. So you'd say, I'll meet you there, and you turned up. It's that. And people who don't remember not having mobile phones just think I'm trying to do some kind of that slag. So I sometimes have to be a little bit careful. Like sexy. Sorry.
Do the names come first, or do you name them at the end of your creation?
It varies. I've renamed a couple of them. Oh. In fact, Tokyo Spring Blossom used to be Urara's Tokyo Cafe, which is the one you wrote about. No one could pronounce or remember, unfortunately, except my Japanese friends, Urara, which actually means the breeze through the spring blossoms, it turns out. I didn't know that when I made it, but that's what it means. So I wrote to Urara and I said, mate, is it all right if we call it this instead? And she said, yes, Sarah-san. So, because people thought it was Uhura from Star Trek, or Star Trek, yeah, which I don't mind because she's fantastic, but it wasn't that. And also, Says Alice was changed to Babylon Sunset when it went into Fortnum and Mason. So, you know, I don't mind. You know, because we found that only people bought it if they were called Alice, and you can't guarantee that Alice's would like it. So it was actually making the target group for it very, very small indeed. And I said, you know, I was in Fortnum's at the time talking about being stopped. And we just thought, well, what does it smell like? And they said, it smells like, you know, the sunset over Babylon's garden. So we went, all right, we'll call it that then. So that got named twice.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
The next nerdy question, and this really is quite nerdy.
Oh, no, I can't hear it.
Okay, I'm coming. Just give it a second.
Yeah. Are you back?
So, this nerdy question is from somebody called Esther Brazil. She says, I'm obsessed with 2 fragrances of yours, Sleep Not and What I Did on My Holidays. And most recently, the smell of carrot seeds right out of the packet, which fills me with joy and confusion. Triangulating those 3 things, where do I go next? And is carrot seed a hopelessly weird note to want to find in perfumery? And actually, no, carrot seed is
it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It is. So I have some.
They don't happen to be. It doesn't happen to be in Sleep Not or What I Did on My Holidays, perhaps.
It's not. It is in Le Jardin de Monsieur McGregor, which is yeah, that I actually made for Jacques Pintazes, who he was the creative director at Patou, and he worked with Jean Kerliot on Sublime. And Jacques, we ended up being mates, and he likes rabbits. So I thought I would make him a Peter Rabbit fragrance. And I did it in sort of in the style of, you know, because in the style of is very difficult. If somebody says, oh, you copied somebody else's, like, well, it's easy if you've got a GCMS. It's very hard if you're only using a nose. But I never try to deliberately copy somebody's, except as an exercise, you know, to prove that you can, like for skills training. But I thought, if I made Le Jardin de Monsieur McGregor as obviously Mr. McGregor's garden, but in the style of Le Jardin de, or those Hermès ones, that would just be funny. So I took everything that Peter Rabbit would nick off Mr. McGregor's garden. They've even got parsnip essential oil in it, but I used the carrot seed in that. And then I made the scent of Mr. McGregor's shed. And so it's like, you know, and a quart of shed, and then all the fruit and all the vegetables, and then bucket loads of Hedione. So I made that. And so that does have carrot seed in it, but there's carrot seed in Flora Psychedelica, but which Brooke described as iris on a bender, but almost nobody likes that. But maybe I'll do something else with carrot seed in.
Esther's got a couple of new ones to try. Now, having been to your atelier, shall we say, you have an absolutely fantastic collection of fragrances. Did these predate in any way, or did some of them predate your career as a perfumer? So is it something you've always been obsessed with on the side?
I started out as somebody who had one perfume because, you know, Diorella. And I retain it. You know, it is the love of my life. In fact, I mean, Meet Me on the Corner I wanted Meet Me on the Corner to give me the same joy as Diorella did when I first discovered it, when it was punchy, you know, now it smells a lot like it now, but it's not. I wanted that Diorella, so that makes me happy. But so Diorella was my thing, and so I went through a whole Fruity Chypre series. Me and Laura. Oh, Laura loves Diorella, of course she does.
Me too. I love Diorella. Yeah.
Who doesn't? And then I moved over to the Fruity Chypres like D'ici de là. And then I was a big fan of Tocard. So I did, but I was one of these people who'd have, you know, 2 or 3, but not loads of perfume. I'd use one up and I'd go and look for another one. And And then I really started kind of collecting the things when I was writing the book, because I was what's it called? Scent of Possibility. It's called the Scent of Possibility. So I went looking for those, and then the more I kind of worked with Lush, then of course I worked with Lush, and I learned more about fragrance because they're in-house perfumery. So I went exploring things and started to acquire. But then, once I got here, I didn't buy all of these. I did buy a whole load on eBay when there was an opening up of an old warehouse in New Mexico of things dating back from the 1920s, and that was before the UN shipping laws came in.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people who've got, you know, they've used a little bit and they can't be bothered to sell it on eBay. They just come here and go, oh, you've got, here, have them. And people will bring me like 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 sometimes, and just go, here, have these, and clearing out my cupboards. And I go, okay. So I think sometimes the real niche heads come here and they're very disappointed that my place is not full of niche fragrances, but I can't afford them. And, you know, there's not enough for shoes. Besides, I make them. So I have sort of classic, interesting ones, but I'll discover a perfumer that I really admire, and I'll go and buy all of his or hers.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, drawer full of Sophia Grossman. I have a lot of Lush